Welcome to Small Arms Solution. Today we got something really interesting. This was something that I was recommended by AR Build Junkie when he called me. We did an interview, and he told me something you might want to check out. You might want to give Ernie Bray a call over at X2 Dev Group, which is the name of the company, Dev Group after the Navy Developmental Group, because he's making an AR-15 that's unlike anything else. That one that was based solely off of the requirements of JSOC, or Joint Special Operations Command, out of Fort Bragg. Now, these guys here are the ones who, you special operations guys, who have had problems with the M4s, and of course then we went through the whole issue with the better weapons and you can't have it, and they're still back using M4s. So in his conversations with them, his company he opened up in 2010. Mr. Bray started his company in 2010 as an offshoot of several of his other companies. And since then, he has ended up doing a lot of other work for other gun manufacturers such as Ruger, SIG, Timney, POF, Strategic Arms, just to name a couple. So when he started talking to the guys over at JSOC, he asked them, what do you need? He goes, what parts of the AR-15 or M16 or M4 do you not like? And come to find, they had a lot to say. It wasn't specifically about the weapons platform itself. It was about more of the external aspects of it that caused them problems. And some of the stuff, to tell you the truth, I was sort of surprised to hear because, in all my work with the guns, I'd never heard of some of these problems. So I'd never heard anybody complain about them. And it started off with the charging handle. Now, the charging handle is, you guys know, there's a latch. The latch goes onto the aluminum. Now, for these special operations guys, when they would have this hanging on with all their equipment on, it was not difficult for that latch to get depressed and they had the bolt come out of battery. And they wanted something that was not going to do that. So he went right to work on what we refer to as the jackal, which is the charging handle that you see here. The latch on the jackal is on the inside instead of the outside, both sides. So what that means is, no matter what happens to the outside of it or how it gets hit, it's never going to come unloose. And it's never going to unintentionally pull the bolt out of battery. So this charging handle, again, is offered by them for sale as an upgrade to your weapon as well. So this was one of the first things. So there was a list of things that they said. They said protecting the controls from snagging, meaning protecting the bolt catch, the magazine release, and all that stuff from catching on their uniforms and on their gear. Anti-rotation of the receiver extension plate, keeping that so it doesn't rotate. Longitudinal rigidity of the handguards to stop point of aim shift. Most of the handguards attach to the barrel nut, or they attach somehow to the barrel. And as the rifle heats up and you have optics on there, that will shift. And not only will it cause issues with the alignment of the optics, but also the barrel. Handguards with anti-rotation and alignment. So the handguards, again, that you would have them loose because of the way that they attached to the barrel nut, the bolts coming loose and whatnot. Longer range precision accuracy. Now, overall, M16s, M4s are fairly accurate rifles compared to other military rifles. You can generally get, 2.5 MOA out of a standard new Colt M4A1. They wanted to do better. They were looking more along the lines of Mark 12 type accuracy. Improved suppressors and muzzle devices, which, again, we're looking at typical old technology of baffled type muzzle devices they've been using for many years. So after Ernie heard that, he decided he was going to build a rifle based on their requirements. And he basically took everything that they said, and he was not concerned at all about having interchangeable parts with the M4 or whatnot. He was going to make this rifle the way they wanted it to. So what did he do? So he's looking at sub 1/2 MOA was his goal. Perfect tuning and timing of the gas systems. Perfect ergos, lightweight. Of course, they wanted it lightweight. They wanted to be properly balanced between the barrel and the center of the rifle. Run like a Rolex watch and shoot like a laser. Simple maintenance, and he wanted the best ergonomics of any M16 M4 rifle ever made. Due to the way that he wanted it designed, there had to be no compromise in reliability or anything else for as far as mechanics. Everything had to be improved. And according to Mr. Bray, that the M4 had many shortcomings. He felt that it snagged on gear. That inadvertently you could charge the rifle when the bolt was locked to the rear, bent and broken charging handles. And again, the charging handle thing was a surprise because I have to say, at my time at Colt, I never really heard of that. charging handles breaking. We did have on occasion upper receivers that, because you had a metal latch and aluminum upper receiver, you could wear that to the point where the latch would just slip right over and you could have a charging handle hit you in the face. But again, the way the SOCOM guys are using this are very different than others. I asked him why did he change the lower receiver and controls. He said JSOC wanted fluid left and right hand controls, which means you could go from left to right. Everything is in the exact same location. If you look at a lot of the right hand controls for as far as the location of, say, the bolt release, that's much higher than the one on the left hand side. Same thing with the magazine release; it's lower. So he wanted to make sure they were the exact same on both sides, as well as the safety. They also want to be able to shoot with gloves. Now, the trigger you see on here is not the trigger that was designed for this. He has his own trigger designed for this. But to get the rifle into production, he did not have the ability to manufacture his trigger yet. But they wanted a match grade trigger, no sharp edges. And they wanted to have a rifle with very, very high round count capability and not having the thing wear out. And we're going to get into that when we get into this barrel. And improved human engineering. Human engineering means how easy it and how comfortable it is for the human hand to get it to manipulate from one location, from bolt catch to magazine release. How easy everything is to get to. No forward assist. Now, again, many of you are going to want to argue this point with me. Once again, I defer to special operations. The JSOC guys said they did not want it. A properly timed rifle does not need it, and it could be added if they requested it, but Mr. Bray agreed with me that it's about 98%, 99% worthless. Most people that are using forward assist, it has nothing to do with the mechanical use of the rifle. It has to do with press checks. They don't trust the rifle when it loads, so they got to pull the bolt back to the rear, and they got to make sure there's a round in there, and then then close it back up and then hit it. People will try to say, well, you can load the gun silently with it. Yeah, right. You try doing that with getting the extractor to snap over the rim quietly. I'd love to see somebody do that, because that's another falsehood that comes out. But the only purpose of the charge handle is, again, it's not mechanical. It's for press checks, which is a training issue. It's had nothing to do with the gun. Explain why you rethink the bolt carrier. The bolt carrier, when we get into this, is going to be interesting because it's made out of titanium. It is not your conventional steel. He wanted the lowest mass possible to work with the gas pressure or gas ports on here to make the perfectly timed rifle. So basically you have no recoil, the lowest reciprocating mass as possible. So we're going to start looking at some of these things from back to front. Now the stock he has on here, this is just a Mission First Tactical, their minimalist stock. He has his own stock, that he has his own type of a latch system on there, that he was not able to manufacture at this time. So he diverted to this. Again, you have a standard receiver extension on here. You have an anti-lock receiver extension end plate. Now we're starting to take a look at some other things on here. Getting the lower receiver. This lower receiver, again, does not take any standard M16, M4 type parts, but the safety, which could be used, and the trigger. Everything else is proprietary to this rifle design. If you look at the pistol grip, this is something else he was asked to change by the guys at JSOC. They wanted a different, higher angle grip on this. So he redesigned the entire pistol grip around what they wanted. The safety wanted one that would be able to manipulate easily, much more easily so than the original one. This is also a little bit quieter than the standard one. Now, getting back to the anti-lock or the locking receiver extension end plate, you also have a QD attachment point on the back. So let's take a look at some of these controls. If you notice, you do have a standard magazine release, but what's different is there is a bolt catch and release, and it's down here. Now, we have it locked open to the rear right now. We'll drop out the magazine. Now, to release, you push upward, and it releases. Now, if I want to lock it open, I push downward, pull back, and push downward, and there we have it. Now, this was designed also so this would not catch on any kind of clothing or any kind of equipment on somebody's their belt or their chest rig. So it literally will not go by accident. You literally have to push it upward to release. Now, oddly enough, some of the guys at JSOC like to carry their rifle with the bolts locked to the rear. That's not anything that we've ever trained on, at least where I was at in the Army or any of the militaries I've ever trained with. But these guys said they actually like to carry it with the bolt locked to the rear. So that was an interesting aspect of that. But if you also notice the way all these, the architecture of this is designed so if this rifle was to be dropped, the magazine wouldn't release inadvertently. If it was to bang up against somebody's chest, it wouldn't release inadvertently. We go over to the left-hand side. We look at the bolt catch. We have a much larger panel, and when that's inward, as you can see, it's flush. We have it directly for a left-handed shooter to be able to hit the magazine release. This is all flush in here. Nothing is sticking out, so nothing's going to catch or snag on anything. Same thing with your safety. Again, it's mirrored the same as the left and to the right. Everything is in the same location. So you can see there is some very interesting changes that he's done there. You have the mag well, as you see, it's a little bit shorter, and it's also got a big flare on there. So you can see the upper receivers are totally different. They're not compatible with anything else that's out there. Now, the lower receiver, to my understanding, I haven't tried it yet. You can drop on to something else. I have not tried it yet, but we have to give that a try. Well, I'm going to go over some of the stats on this before we get more into the upper receivers. The upper receivers, where there's some real changes that are done to it. Again, you have an internal piston. Again, we don't use the term direct gas because that is not what this is, internal piston. Rotating bolt. The magazines, again, standard Stenag magazines. The magazines that I used in this thing were, I used most of them. I used P-Mags, I used Lancers, I used standard GI, I used Hera Arms, I used Ultimag. I used a good number of different magazines, and I had no issues whatsoever. Overall length, with the stock extended, you're looking at 37 inches. You close it, you're looking at 33.75 inches. Width is 2 inches. Height from pistol grip to the top, you're looking at about 7.8 inches. Now the barrel. The barrel's where we're really going to start talking about this. You're going to see some photographs of what it looks like with the handguard off. The barrel is a 16-inch, and it is a fluted barrel. Now, this barrel is very, very unique. When I first started talking to him, he told me about the rifling twist on it. This is a 3R. Now, in 10 years of doing forensics, I've never come across a rifle that was 3R. I come across some 2Rs, which were some U.S. rifles from the World War II era, World War I era, that were mass-produced, and it was cheaper and quicker to do 2R, but I've never seen 3R. So I asked him if he could explain that to me. He goes, well, when you have less of those, they wear a lot slower. So you're increasing the life of the barrel by doing so. By having the barrel is relatively heavy with the flutes on here, you're increasing its surface area by over 300% over a standard barrel. The twist he chose was a 1 in 8. 1 in 8 will fire everything up to 77 grain without any problems whatsoever. Get a half by 28. Now the finish on here is a plasma nitride finish, which is a little bit different. I'm not a chemist, but it's a little bit different. It's a proprietary finish that they like. And the muzzle device on here is what they refer to as the V15 muzzle brake. Now that's manufactured of 17-4 stainless steel, salt bath nitrided. Now this was designed to basically reduce recoil and also for your flash signature. It's a very interesting muzzle device. You'll see some interesting pictures of it. The only unfortunate thing about this is there's not any suppressors that attach to it, so this is one of the benefits of the rifle that you would lose if you put another suppressor. Now, hopefully, I'd love to see, because X2 Dev Group does do a lot of suppressors. I'd love to see them come out with a suppressor that would lock onto here. That'd be really cool. Again, barrel length, 16 inches. They can go 14 inch, they can go 10 and a half inch, they can do whatever they're asked. Now, the next thing that's interesting is the way that they put the gas block on here. Now, as you guys know, that I'm a big fan of drilling and pinning to make sure they don't move. I talked to Mr. Bray. He goes, absolutely not. He goes, that affects the harmonics of the barrel if you start drilling holes in it and you start putting pins in it. And he wasn't going to do that because he would lose his accuracy. So what he did instead was, as you'll see from this photograph, you'll see he physically drilled a couple holes into the metal of the barrel. And instead of having a dog nose on there, he basically has screws that will go up into there that will lock that gas block into place so it can't move. So basically, it's just as good as pinning. It's locked in place, not so it will slide. So he is taking care of that. Now the gas block on here has 3 different inserts. So you basically have a suppressed, a normal, and an adverse, and it generally runs with the normal. So basically, suppressed is going to give you a smaller gas port. Normal is going to give you a next one larger. Then you're going to have an adverse, which is a lot larger. Now, these are actually gas ports. There's no leakage. Most of the time you have something that rotates and you have gas leakage around that. And the way this system is, you eliminate that altogether. So basically you remove this one pin and then you can pull these out and slot them in the field. So it provides a proper port size. You get a cleaner flow, and they don't leak. Traditional gas blocks can leak. So he rethought that as well. So for disassembly, basically all you're doing is you have two QD slots back here, and you're able to rotate those, and you can slide the barrel right off. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to disassemble this, and I do want to remove the handguard because I tell you what, this barrel is extremely impressive, and we'll take a look at the gas block. But to do that, because of the kind of optic I have on here, I'm going to have to remove this optic. So that's just a matter of loosening that up. The optic I chose on here is a SIG, the 1:6 by 24. That's the Tango 6, which is the one that the U.S. military had adopted. Of course, it doesn't have the fancy color. I don't particularly care for tan myself. So we'll take the optic off. Again, interesting thing you can see is if I try to hit the charging handle, even put it on my bench here, it doesn't go because it latches on the inside. So like any AR, we're going to pop the front and rear out. Again, looking at the lower receiver, you can see the two-stage trigger. And this uses a standard buffer. It does not require a heavy buffer because of the way he has it gassed. Pull out our bolt carrier group and our charging handle. The bolt carrier group we're going to get into as well. So to remove the handguard, this comes with an Allen wrench. You drop that right in. So we're going to pull that one out on the left, and then we're going to go on the right. So now we're going to pull that handguard right off. And now we have this barrel. So as you can see from this barrel, by having a fluted barrel like this, this is great for cooling the barrel as well. We do have a special straight gas tube on here as well. Now this is also a benefit too, because when you have the curves in the gas box, that creates hot spots where the gas tube can fail. So basically this gas tube here would be much stronger and it would last a lot longer in extreme heat than a standard gas tube would. And as we can see from the bottom, we do see these two screws, but again, these two screws basically goes to two holes that are in the barrel, so it locks it in place so it can't move. Now to change out I'm not going to take out the gas block or the gas ports, but you stick your Allen key in here, you unloosen the screw, and you can see right here is your gas block. We see there's two dots on here, so two dots means normal. So your other ones we see right here. You can see the size of the gas part that's right on there. This is the 1, and this one here is the 3. So that's all there is to taking that apart. But this barrel, again, this is the first time I ever saw a 3R barrel, and I have to say, from the shooting that we did, this thing was sub MOA. The target that came from the company was less than 1/2 of an inch. And I got just over this, and you'll be able to see my targets just over this. Again, I'm not a match grade shooter, but talking to Ernie, these guys here have a really good match shooter there, show what the gun's capable of. You see our barrel nut we have on here. Everything is completely free floating. There's nothing that's impeding on the barrel at all. Just an extremely well thought out, well executed, a platform. So we slide that right back on. And as you can see, the upper and lower, or the upper receiver is integral with the handguard. So this is a proprietary system. Again, he did not care about having proprietary or interchangeable parts. He wanted to build the best rifle that he could at the requirements that he was asked. And you get all this for 6 pounds. This is the weight the original M16 was just around 6 pounds. Of course, that's without all the accessories on it as well. The only things I've really added to here is I added the M-Lock covers for Magpul. I added the M-Bus Pro iron sights and a couple rails. The bolt carrier is made of titanium 56-4. and it's iron bond coated, which is sort of like a nitride type coating as well. And you won't believe how lightweight this thing actually is. Now the bolt on here, this bolt here is a standard. The bolt carrier is one area that Ernie had said that they're going to be continuing to work on to improve because they have a lot of ideas to make the bolt even better. But the one you have in here is a standard. It's a basic mil spec Carpenter 158 and an MPI magnetic particle and proof tested. But the carrier, again, lower reciprocating mass, balanced gas system. Taking a look at that charging handle, you can see those latches on the inside. And you saw the benefits of having them on the inside as they don't snag. Just for reassembly. So I think we're going to do now is we're going to take this to the range. We're going to see how it shoots.
Titanium bolt carriers. Got hand guards.
I fired quite a bit of ammunition out of this, over 700 rounds. And, I just received this a little over a week ago, and I have to say the recoil was nothing. I was able to get these things off, as you saw in the shooting video, as fast as I could get this trigger off and keep them on the human silhouette target at 100 yards. The accuracy was phenomenal with this. All my groups were sub-MOA using match ammunition, and again, it's all we used was match ammunition. We used a Hornady match 75 grain. I used a Black Hills Mark II 6.2 77 grain OTM. And it was an expensive day for ammo, but you're not going to go out and spend, $2,795 on a rifle and put wolf in it. We used the best ammunition possible. And again, all of our groups were less than an MOA. And There was reliability was 100%. There was no break-in period that was needed. I'd had some concerns early on about using titanium and aluminum bolt carriers. Aluminum bolt carriers is not anything that was new. They've been used by companies for a couple of years now, several years now. I remember working at Colt and seeing some of those in the R&D area. And DS Arms also puts out an aluminum carrier. This one, however, being titanium, is much stronger. You don't have the risk of the galling in the cam pin area and so forth. And it deals perfectly fine with the heat that's caused with it. But again, he says, as he said and explained, the low reciprocating mass, and I have to certainly say he was right. I was getting them off as fast as I could pull the trigger, and I was getting hits 100% on my steel target, my challenge target at 100 yards. So it does as advertised. That 3R does do as advertised. Now, MSRP $2,795. Well, guess what? You have a rifle built from scratch. You have a custom rifle that was built for the guys at JSOC. Now, keep in mind, this was built with all input from JSOC, but there was no requirement for it. So, meaning, is there any possibility that the JSOC will buy this? And you never say never. Built by Ernie in X2 Dev Group is an answer to all of their questions and all of their problems. Will they buy it? Who knows? But this is exactly what they wanted in every aspect. So again, all the parts were made in his factory, with the exception of some of the small components and springs. The rest of these parts are all made in his factory. He has some bright engineers who do wonders with CNC machines. The quality out here is incredible. So you're not going to low bid places or buying parts from somebody else to throw into here. Everything that you see on here is custom to this rifle. The handguard, the barrel, the receiver extension, everything. There's no part on here other than maybe some small detents that are compatible with a regular M4. He does have a discount for first responders, law enforcement, military, fire. Anybody who's first responder, he does have discounts for. And generally, you can get your rifle within a couple of weeks, depending if what the supply chain issues are. Everybody in the industry right now is having issues with getting materials. That's a problem. I've been really excited to listen to some of the stuff that he has going on for as far as evolving this into something even more, which we're going to be keeping up with this. For as far as the cost of this rifle, $27.95 for what you're getting here is not all that bad. Because what you're getting here is an assault rifle version of the Mark 12. So the barrel is probably your typical life, but you have the heat issues. Now, one of the things that I talked to him about, I don't think Ernie thought too much about this, was having one of these in full auto for what the military would want it for. Evidently, some things have changed over the years as to how SOCOM or JSOC how they look at their weapons, because a lot of these guys don't use full auto. The Mark 12, when it was designed with that heavy barrel, they kept the full auto on there. Reason being, if they got into an emergency, they could turn it into a light support weapon by putting an automatic with that heavy barrel. I've only heard of a couple times where that was done in an emergency. Of course, you would destroy the barrel for as far as precision accuracy is concerned, but it will give you that ability. And I think this one here, it has the same accuracy without a doubt as what the Mark 12 has right now out of the box, but its barrel would deal with that heat even better. So I think in an emergency, having a full auto setting on here would be a really good idea for a military version. However, the guys who he's talking with, they don't even want full auto. They want to stay with just the semi-automatic only. So what you're getting for this is not like something that people just put lipstick and rouge on. This is a completely redone rifle. And it was the answer to what JSOC wanted. So I do hope that it has the opportunity to go into JSOC, these guys take a look at it and give it an opportunity to be adopted. Right now, I don't think that they're really too concerned about that. He wants to build the best rifle that he can, the most unique rifle that he can, and he wants to build it to what the warfighters need and not have to worry about having to have all the parts interchangeable. I mean, the gas tube is an improvement. It's also a low volume, so it lets less gas into there so you can balance the system better. Every part on this thing is, again, it's designed and manufactured in-house, and some of the stuff for the smaller parts. So you do get a higher cost when you're not just buying parts from vendors that are all the same. So this is something I definitely will be doing a follow-up with for as far as getting some range, some rounds down range. See how the barrel holds up for accuracy. This is really one of the newest things I've seen in a long time. Most of the stuff that you've seen coming out recently, just lipstick and rouge. There's not a lot of practicality to the changes. Where this one, on the other hand, this one has changes that are designed for a warfighter. This is not just a slightly modified AR-15. This is basically a completely redone one for what the warfighters wanted. So any of you guys who may be interested, I'd give X2 dev group a call and talk to them, see what you can get, see what their availability is. This is well worth the money, and it's well worth the wait. So I do hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.